Hello, and welcome to ELA 9 Distance Learning. This is our YouTube lesson series on argumentative essay writing with me, Mr. Smith. What we're covering today is video number 4 relating to organization. We've already done, as we can see here, videos number 1, the introduction, video number 2, the assignment overview and the rubric, and then we just recently talked about what a thesis statement is. So again, we're talking about organization, why organization is important. And then we're also going to talk about some of the elements that are outlined in the packet, the organizational components that you can do either in writing in that packet, like I said, or using the Google Doc that I sent out to people, or through Castle Learning. So these are all the same thing. We're going to go over them. I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to have people, if you choose again, as I've said in everything, please check the other videos out if you have questions. We'll look at the introduction and the conclusion coming up next. Body paragraph writing, the counter argument, and then research and rough draft writing. But if you have any questions, please reach out to me through Talking Points, or please reach out to me through email, jsmith49@scsd.us. I've also enabled comments on the bottom of these videos. So please, I check the videos several times a day, and there's no comments yet. Subscribe, hit that, smash that like button, as my friends have said, and we'll get into it. All right. So what we've got here is organization. What we're talking about when we're talking about organization for video number 4 here is this idea of going over the elements of organization, what we mean by organization, and then how it relates to specifically this essay, the outline and the graphic organizers. When we're talking about organization of our essay, we hopefully are going through the process of research. We're going through the process of kind of drafting some ideas. But I want to provide for you some very specific things that you can do that will help you get more organized before you go to the next step, which would be rough draft writing. And then from there would be revision and then final editing. But a lot of students just think, all right, I have a topic, now I start writing. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but we want to provide people the opportunity to do some structures and put some structures in place that will help them be more successful. And that's what organization is. So what we're talking about here is the idea of guiding yourself, but also guiding me when I read your paper through what your process is, through what we call our reasoning process. Because if you're going to come up with an argument, or as we learned previously, a thesis or a master claim or a major claim of your paper, you have to provide reasons that support it. And by having a good organizational structure, then you can have a clear, as it says there, explanation of each argued point. If you just start writing without building some structures in place, it's going to jump all over the place. And we don't want to do that. We want to have you as a writer be credible. We want to make sure that we know, both you and me know what you're talking about, and that comes as a result of you creating a really strong argumentative essay structure. Thankfully for this, there's some formulas and there's some structures and templates that exist, so I can show you those, and we're going to go over those today, that help you kind of navigate that. And what those look like are as follows. You oftentimes will see, and we'll go over this in the next one, titled, and then you have an introduction, and then you have your body paragraphs, and then your conclusion. I've said this a few times. It's worth reiterating. 5 paragraphs, right? Intro, body 1 is one of your reasons. Body 2 is another reason. Then your third body paragraph is your counter argument paragraph, and then your conclusion. And that's what we can see there. And we'll look at how each of those paragraph kind of lays itself out based off of those graphic organizers and those outlines. So what we can see here, as I have them pulled up, first of all, is the graphic organizer. Now, if you go up on the internet and you pull any manner of graphic organizers or outlines, some of them are going to show a counter argument paragraph, and some of them are just going to say body paragraph number 3. If you see body paragraph number 3, I'm telling you, for this essay, your body paragraph number 3 is going to be a counter argument essay, or counter argument paragraph. Sorry, I don't want to misspeak. A counter argument paragraph. So you want to make sure that when you see that, don't think you're just going to do another paragraph, another traditional paragraph. So we can see, if I'm going to do this, for example, and I was going to talk about Coke versus Pepsi, for example, I was going to say, okay, well, my argument is Coke is better than Pepsi. One reason why Coke is better than Pepsi is because it tastes better. So I might write the word taste here. Another reason why Coke is better than Pepsi is because of sales. It sells better. And a third reason that some people argue that that Pepsi is better than Coke. They might say that it has better commercials, right? And I'll write commercials there. Those are my three reasons. Again, one that proves me, another one that proves me, and then my counter argument, right? And this is what we see set up here. For time and for what we're doing here, I'm going to skip the introduction because we're going to talk about introduction and conclusion in our next video. But you can see just briefly what we're talking about here, and we've already talked about this is where that clear, strong statement of a thesis would go. And then you would construct, for example, based off of what we're talking about here, and then it would lead into the writing of your actual body paragraph, a topic sentence, which is that reason. One reason why Coke is better than Pepsi is because of the taste. Then I would talk about what my piece of evidence that I've found through my research says, provide the evidence, and we'll talk about citation when we actually get into drafting and research, and then talk about or explain my evidence. We always say, or I always say, that you can't just give a piece of evidence and not explain it, right? And so that's what this provides here. And then a closing statement, or I like to use transitions, where I would say something along the lines of, this is not the only reason why Coke is better than Pepsi. So then I could go into my next paragraph, right? And you can see this in this graphic organizer, which then ends, like we said, 5 paragraphs, conclusion. We can also see this with the outline template, and you can see 2 examples. I'm going to go over both of them. There's one here, and then there's one with a sample, and then another here. For me, personally, you can choose either one. You can do this one, or you can do this one. My opinion is this one is a little bit easier and a little bit better because I created it. So you can see in this one, it's got a spot for your thesis, going again like off that graphic organizer, one reason with a piece of text and analysis, which we see just like it was in the graphic organizer, but it doesn't have that topic sentence structure, and it doesn't have that transition sentence structure because it's a little bit more simplistic, and that's what we want out of our outline. Same thing with reason 2, and you see the reason I like this one better is it has a paragraph for or a structure for your counterclaim. This one does not. It just says third point. So I want to make sure that I clarify that. If you're going to do this one, and again, I'll say it, you don't have to do both. If you do this one, it's nice because it says counterclaim right here. Some people may argue that opposing side, but they're wrong because analysis. And if you do it on this one, same thing, same structure, but you just want to make sure that that's the counter argument. So when we talk and go back to this idea of, as we set up here, organization, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about having these structures in place. We're talking about developing, first of all, maybe that graphic organizer and then the outline, or vice versa, maybe use the outline to do your graphic organizer, or both simultaneously, but definitely check to make sure that they have those core components, especially that counter argument, which is going to be the thing that I think a lot of people may forget. And so as we go forward with video number 5, I just want to remind people the next thing we're going to be talking about is introduction and conclusion, which I said we're going to go a little brief into because it's in the next video. And then we'll get into those body paragraphs and what they're really going to look like. I'll give you some samples, and then we'll come back around to counter arguments and rough drafting and research. As always, feel free to reach out to me. We've got more videos coming this week. I got the opportunity for people. I'm hearing a lot of stuff from a lot of people about how they're doing their work, and they've been doing a good job. Take your time, ask questions, be safe out there. Yeah, smash that like button.